You know, one of the things that Nicole pointed out, she was the first between her and Eggman at the end of 256, was that the entire multiverse has collapsed. Now we know at the end of this long arc that everything was restored. We get that. But you have to wonder if they would have ever brought up the multiverse situation again. I mean, I understand that the memories in story were being changed and altered to match their new lives and history in this reality, but you have to wonder if they would still have remnants of the old world, mostly the knowledge of the multi-universes. Because they know about different dimensions like blazes and silvers and all that, but you have to wonder if they would still have remnants of memory when it comes to knowing to the knowledge of the multiverse. And I think Nicole basically, having that knowledge, even though it seems strange that her memories and everything were being altered as well, would have played a big part. Hear me out. Let's say Ian Flynn had stories, and probably did have stories planned for issue 300 and beyond. He had them pinned out, blueprinted, if you will. And let's say maybe one of the stories he came up with, not saying it's entirely true, but let's say one of the stories he came up with was basically the multiverse being acknowledged again. Basically, the freedom fighters confronting Eggman, like basically there's this final confrontation, or seemingly a final confrontation, if you will, between all of them, and they want to know basically, one thing. They want one, obvious answer to one question. That they have one question, period, and that is, why did he cause the multiverse to collapse? Like, even though, like, they can point out, yeah, we restored the world and everything, but because of you and your meddling, and your interference, you caused the multiverse outside of this world to collapse, and many lives potentially to be lost. You have to wonder if maybe Ian had a story lined up where this would be addressed, and perhaps Eggman's answer would be he was left with no choice. That he couldn't accept that probably the best opportunity he had to conquer all of reality, not just the world that he was trying to conquer, but all of reality, was once again being thwarted by Sonic, and he just couldn't, he just couldn't take it anymore, and without rationally thinking of the consequences, he did what he did. I could see that being pointed out. I could see that being addressed. Now, here's the other question though. With it being brought up again, and Eggman potentially giving an answer like, hey, I couldn't accept the fact that Sonic was going to beat me again, and I didn't think rationally when I did what I did. You have to wonder if maybe potentially Ian Flynn had plans to bring the multiverse concept back. Now I know you're thinking, well, he did the reboot and everything, not just because of the lawsuits, but to really clean up, and single out basically one continuity, one story, one world. And I understand that. But you have to think to yourself that one of the most interesting, sometimes convoluted concepts in the original book was the multiverse. Because when you think about it, one of the more popular anti-characters that came out of it was Anti-Sonic, aka Scourge. So you have to wonder if maybe Ian Flynn was thinking of going back and revisiting that concept, but doing it more simply. In other words, instead of like giving us different worlds, upon different worlds, millions upon millions of different worlds, that if maybe he was going to plan to bring the multiverse back, but basically organize it to where you have potentially 4 main worlds. Not just dimensions within that world, but 4 main multiverses. Like, you have Sonic, the Prime world for Sonic, And then maybe you have an anti-world where, just like in the originals, all the freedom fighters are not good but bad. Then maybe another world to perhaps they're, let's say, superheroes and all that, but they're a team like the Justice League or the Avengers. And then maybe one world, like, let's say, just throw it out there, they're slime people. You know, those slime animals and all that can shapeshift and all that, what have you, in an effort to protect their planet. You know, just throwing it out there. But you do have to wonder if maybe he was planning to revisit that, but by doing so, he was planning to maybe address it once again in a future story, a future story concept. Now, you might think that's probably just mere speculation on my part, and like I said, it is. But who's to say it's not something he was considering, that being Ian Flynn himself? The point that I'm getting at is, you know, I understand that the concept in the story, which was basically an adaptation of Sonic Unleashed, mostly, was to help reset the world, you know, kind of, you know, simplify things and all that. I get all that. I understand all that. You know, I understand that afterwards, by pairing the Freedom Fighters up individually with game characters of the Sonic games, was to help establish them with the new audience, mostly the game audience, to get them to really know who these characters were better than, you know, they were already known to longtime fans. So, you know, I get and understand that. But when I look beyond the 300th issue, and whatever that was going to be, obviously it might have been something big, we're not really sure. But when I look beyond that, you know, and I look at potential stories that he had planned, I look at the fact that readdressing the multiverse collapsing down the line potentially could have been one of them. Because again, you can't just have a character like Nicole in 256 say that the multiverse has collapsed upon itself. You can't just have someone like Eggman within that same issue address that all the energies from those different multiverses have been drawn to that one world, to the one world now, and is tearing it apart. You know, there has to be more to it. You have to have more, you know, spice added to that little recipe, that little tidbit, that little snack, that appetizer, to, you know, really fully fledge out, you know, what happened, you know, what had happened basically, that, you know, caused the world to, you know, end up in the state that it was before it was restored. You know, so I truly believe, in my mere speculation and, you know, just from my own point of view, I think Ian Flynn was planning to address it again in future stories that would have been beyond issue 300 and so afterwards, if you get my drift. Unfortunately, we may never know if that is indeed true or not, because of the fact that, well, the book was canceled and any story arcs that they had planned and all that were pretty much shelved indefinitely. But yeah, you know, I could see the multiverse being addressed again in future issues had that happened. I really do. But what do you guys think? Do you think the multiverse would have been addressed, you know, in issues beyond 300, had they been able to go that far, if not further, under the Archie roof? What are your thoughts? Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video. You know, super chats and super stickers will be enabled during the live chat of the premiere, and super thanks after the premiere as well. Also, check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2 and at Cash App at BWRoses98 to help support me there financially, and at patreon.com/BWRoses. Also, check me out, at TikTok. Yes, I do have a TikTok, so check me out there as well. But again, guys, let me know what your thoughts are overall. Do you think the multiverse situation would have been brought up again in future stories, maybe in issues, you know, after 300? What are your thoughts? Again, what are your thoughts? Give me those comments and thoughts down below, and I will talk to you all later.